Hello everyone, thank you for joining us once again. Well done to everyone who's attended one or more sessions this week. We've had 5 different webinars and I hope you've been able to attend at least 1 or 2 of them, and I hope you have learnt 1 or 2 new things and maybe got some new ideas for your classroom. So today we're going to be talking about professional development. So all of this week we've been looking at professional development in different ways. We've focused on improving your own English language skills, how you can improve your range of vocabulary and grammar and practice speaking. On Tuesday, we looked at getting students to talk in class, getting them comfortable doing that. On Wednesday, we looked at inclusion, how you can make sure everyone in the classroom is involved and included. And yesterday, you looked at getting students talking in more practical detail, and I hope you got some nice activity ideas from that. So today, to round the whole week off, we want to talk more about continuous professional development, what it means, and how you can keep developing on your own and use the British Council's resources, which are free and online. So to begin with, I'm going to ask you a question. What is continuous professional development? Can you write in the chat box a definition for CPD? What do you think it is? What does it mean to you? I'm going to give you a bit of time to do that, and we'll come back to that question in a little bit. So just write what you think CPD means to you. Okay, how would you define continuous professional development? Try and write a sentence, but you can write a phrase if that helps as well. So as I was saying, by the end of this hour, I hope you will have a better understanding of what CPD is and why it's important. You will be able to identify the areas of professional development that are most relevant to you, which areas you want to focus on, why you want to focus on them, and how you can do that. You'll have seen different resources that are available online from the British Council and which you can access, and how you can use those in your own professional development. Going to help you think about how you can keep motivated with professional development, because it's not always easy. So how do you keep motivated? How do you keep going? And we'll think about what next actions you can take in terms of CPD. So what is continuing professional development? So I asked you earlier, how would you define CPD in your own words? I wonder if we have had any responses to what it is. So I'm just going to have a quick look. Good afternoon, everyone. I've got lots of welcome messages. It's nice to see everyone. Lots of different teachers, from computer science to maths and Hindi. Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. So no one has answered the question, what is CPD, as far as I can see. Oh no, I've got a few things here. Oh, fantastic. So Maruti says adjust to new innovative things. I think that's a really nice definition. New innovative things. So I think that's a really good way of describing things. Keeping up to date with the new innovations. This year has been a fantastic example. Keeping up with the innovations in technology. Naranjan is saying continuously upgrading with the new trends. Exactly. New trends, understanding what they are, what we can do, and how we can improve our own teaching. Okay, so thank you very much for contributing your ideas there. That was fantastic. And I think that's exactly right. Praveen is saying we have to keep on updating ourselves with the ongoing trends in the educational systems. Brilliant. I think that's it's about updating ourselves, keeping relevant, knowing what's happening. Okay, I will speak a little bit more slowly as well. Okay, just seeing if there's anything else. Okay, so I think what everyone is saying is really true. It's staying up to date with new ideas, new trends, new innovations, what is happening in our profession and being up to date with it. But it's not just about the new ideas coming through. We also want to develop our own practice and our skills. And sometimes that means going back to basics. Sometimes that's rediscovering old ideas, old theories, and applying them to our classroom. So yes, we want to stay up to date and relevant with the new ideas, but we also want to make sure we are developing in a practical way in our classroom. So this is a nice definition of CPD. It's a planned, continuous and lifelong process whereby teachers try to develop their personal and professional qualities and to improve their knowledge, skills and practice, leading to their empowerment, the improvement of their agency and the development of their organisation and their pupils. Now that's a very long definition, but it's got some key words. Key words are planned, continuous and lifelong. As humans, we never stop learning. Okay, every day we can learn something new, and it's a good approach to life. Learn something new every day. And that applies to our teaching as well. Learning something new about what works in the classroom, what doesn't work, trying a new idea, a new activity. So it's lifelong, it doesn't stop after our initial training. Every day, every year, we can be learning. So it's lifelong. It's continuous. It's not one day every year or even just 50 hours every year, which is what the NEP is suggesting. It should be every lesson, every day. So it's not just one day a month or something. So it's continuous and it's planned. The best CPD is planned. This means thinking about what you need, thinking about how you achieve it, and then thinking of the actions you can take, and then to stop thinking and to do those actions. So it's planned. What do you need? How do you do it? Do it. And then reflect on it. What happened? Why did it happen? What did you learn? How can you apply it? Okay. So planned, continuous and lifelong are three key words. And obviously it's going to make you feel better and be more influential in your classroom and school. That's empowerment. It will improve your ability to take action, to make decisions. That's improving your agency. And it's going to improve the learning outcomes of your students, your pupils. So it's really important. I'm going to see if we had any other ideas here as well. So lots more good afternoons. Okay. Fantastic to see so many people here and so many comments. Remaining constant in the profession with same passion for teaching and reading more and more books. Thank you, Rafiq. That's a really nice way of putting it. Yeah, so staying up to date, constant with your profession and same passion. I think that's a key word, you know, retaining that passion. We became teachers because we want to help children. We want to see them do well. And that passion should never die. So how do we keep the passion alive? Keep learning. Reading lots of books is a great way. Reading books, reading articles online, but also not just reading, talking and discussing as well. Okay, just going to have a quick scroll through. Okay, so lots of science teachers, math teachers. Teachers should improve their knowledge and teaching skills. Yeah. Oh, this is an interesting idea. CPD helps us to understand the generation gap and understand students. That's Shanwaz. That's a really nice suggestion, an idea there. I think that's something we don't think about very often, the gap between our students and ourselves. And it's a real possibility. The longer we progress in our careers, the bigger that generation gap is. So how do we make sure our activities, our classroom content is relevant to the students? How can we make sure they are interested? We need to know their interests. What is there a particular trend, film, toy that they're interested in at the moment? How can we include that in the session? Okay. So lots of ideas. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So now I want you to think about your attitude to professional development. Okay, so we said it's a lifelong process and we might experience a range of emotions along the way. Now, how do you feel about CPD? That might not be an easy question to answer, because I'm sure that at times you've been very excited. If there's been an interesting course that you attended, you were maybe very excited before the course, you enjoyed the course while on it, and then went back to the classroom, and maybe when you went back to the classroom you were very keen to apply the learning from that course, but then 1 month later maybe it's all forgotten. Maybe sometimes you're told that you are going to do a course and you're like, oh, I'm not interested in that, that's not relevant for me, and so maybe you're not so interested. There are lots of emotions that you could have related to CPD. Maybe you're not sure about it, maybe you're very happy or keen, sometimes you feel very motivated, sometimes you're more worried. If there is an observation, do you get worried about the feedback, or do you see it as an opportunity to think about how you could do things differently? Okay, do you feel positive about CPD, or do you feel confused? Where do I start? What do I do? Okay, lots of different emotions are possible, and you may experience them, and that's fine. I think the important thing is to recognize that there are different responses to CPD, and you can have different feelings. Okay, for me, I recommend staying positive and thinking about what you want to achieve. Okay, so at the end of the day, we all want to be the best teacher we can be. We want the best for our students. The best thing for the students is to have a fantastic teacher. So how do we become that fantastic teacher? How do we feel pride in what we do? And the easy answer to that is to keep developing, keep up to date, keep reflecting, keep thinking. So here are some things that teachers sometimes do and sometimes feel. Have a think, you can write in the chat if you want. Which of these do you think are good things? Which of these things are maybe not helpful? Okay, so which ones are helpful, which ones are not helpful? So taking part in discussions with other teachers, is that helpful or not? So when I say this, I'm talking about, maybe you finished a lesson and you go to the staff room and there are other teachers from your subject and you start talking about the lesson. I did this, this happened, this didn't work, this worked really well. Or maybe you read about a new idea for an activity and you talk about that with the teachers in your schools. I read about this. Do you think this would work in my classroom? Does that sound like something which is helpful for CPD? So think yes or no. I'll tell you the answers later. What about this one? Working on your own to plan lessons and make classroom decisions. So if you're thinking about your class, you're thinking about the students, and you're making lesson plans, and you're going to make classroom decisions, and you do it based on your knowledge and experience, is that helpful for CPD? Or do you think it might be less helpful? What about this one? Talking to colleagues to discuss classroom scenarios. For example, there's this one student, they always misbehave. Why do you think they misbehave? Do they misbehave in your class? Why do you think they are doing what? Why are they behaving in this way? Do we understand what might be happening at home? What's happening in the classroom? How can talking to colleagues and saying, do you know how I could help this student? Number 4, thinking about your lesson and asking students for their opinions and feedback. So maybe getting your students to say whether they enjoyed an activity or not, whether they learnt anything from the activity or not, whether they would like to change the way the activity happened. So getting students to give their ideas on the lesson and give them to you. Number 5, focusing on completing the syllabus. There's a lot of content to cover in the year, and if you focus on the syllabus entirely so that you can make sure you cover every single point, and working out how you can do that, is that helpful for CPD? So again, I want you to think about each one of these. Is it helpful or not helpful for CPD, for continuing professional development? Number 6, when a teacher thinks that they've completed their training and so they don't need to learn anything more because they learnt all they need ready for the classroom. Is that a useful belief for CPD? And what about this one? When a teacher plans what skills and knowledge they need, and they think about how they will get that new knowledge or acquire those new skills and practice those skills, is that a useful thing for a teacher to do? And the last one here, if a teacher feels worried about being observed and receiving feedback, is that a helpful feeling for CPD? Or is it a less helpful feeling? So take a look at that list again, look at the 8 sentences, and in your mind, you can do it in the chat if you want, but in your mind, which ones are helpful, which ones are not helpful? So Subramaniam is saying the third one is helpful. And number 5 is also helpful. Number 6 is not helpful. Okay, so these are some of the suggestions that people are saying. Subramaniam is doing a fantastic job writing their ideas in the comments. Okay, so I hope you are all thinking one is helpful, one is not helpful, and making a list in your mind. Here are what I think are helpful things for CPD. Okay, so the ones in green. Talking to anyone is always helpful. If you're talking with other teachers about what's happening, what new innovations, lesson plans, what you can do, how you can change things. So 1 and 3 are very similar. Talking about what's happening in your classroom, talking about new innovations, talking about books you read. If you're talking to teachers, then you're thinking about it. You'll think about how you can apply it in your classroom, and it's very, very helpful. Number 2, it's something we all do, and it's important. We need to plan our lessons. We need to make classroom decisions, and it can help, when we're thinking about our knowledge and applying it, but it's not the most useful thing for CPD. It's something we need to do, but it's not necessarily going to develop our skills. Number 4, this is maybe controversial. I don't know what you all think. I'd be interested in your opinion. Do you get your students to give feedback on activities or the lesson or your teaching It can be quite scary to ask students to give us their opinions on our teaching, but they are the ones who are receiving our teaching. They are the ones we are developing for. So it makes sense to get their opinion. What did they like? What didn't they like? What would they change? What do they want to do more of or less of? So the students are a great place to get feedback, and you can do that in different ways. So don't be afraid to ask for their opinions. 5, okay, 5 again, it's something we need to do. We need to complete the syllabus. The students need to learn the content of the syllabus, but just focusing on the syllabus is not going to help us develop. Okay. I'm sure everyone noticed that number 6 is not helpful. If you have a fixed mindset, I know everything I need to know, I don't need anything else, that is not helpful for CPD. So how can you, if you think you know everything, you're probably not attending today. I don't think anyone in the session today believes number 6. Obviously, you need to have an open mind. You need to think what is happening in the world. How can you adapt your classroom? And certainly this year, I'm sure no teacher believes number 6 is true after this year. We've all had to learn new things this year. Number 7, so obviously this one is a very good thing for CPD. Planning is a really important skill. When you plan, you're thinking about what you need, why you need it, how you will get what you need, what you will do with it, and then you go through the circle again, and in that way you can improve and continue developing. If you try something and it doesn't work and you don't think about it, you learn nothing. But if you try something, it doesn't work, and you think about it, then you can think about, well, maybe it didn't work because I didn't put the students into pairs, or maybe I didn't give my instructions very clearly. Next time, I'll try giving my instructions in short sentences, and I'll put the students in pairs. Then you can try that. You're planning for the next lesson, you try that in the next lesson, and it works much better, and you learn something. So planning is a key skill, and that is definitely really very helpful for CPD. Number 8, now number 8 is very natural. When we get observed, we all get very worried. It's difficult to feel someone is judging you, but observations are an opportunity. They are an opportunity to see how another professional sees what is happening in the classroom and to get a second opinion. Sometimes they will give you some really nice ideas. Sometimes they will say things which you think, well, maybe that's not true. If they say something you think that's not true, stop, think about it. Why did they say that? Is there any way it could be true? If you still don't think it's true, okay, that's fine. Something to think about and you can move on. But sometimes it'll be like, yeah, okay, I understand why they said that. I can think about that next time. Now, the best observations for your development are those with your peers. So if you go and observe your colleague and they come and observe you, you are both learning, you are both gaining, and it's not about judging who is the best teacher. It's about saying, I really liked how you did that. I really liked how you grouped the students. I really liked how you set up that activity. I really liked how you gave your instructions. Okay, and then they can do the same from you. They like this, that, or the other. So that's what it is. It's about sharing ideas. Okay. So I'm going to, we've got a lot of comments here, lots more good afternoons. Hello everyone again. People might be joining a bit late, that's fine. Rafik is saying some good ideas. Yes, taking part in discussions is very, very helpful for sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you on a little tour of British Council resources that can help you in your professional development. And the best thing about these resources is that they are free. So you can, if you have access to the internet, you can access these resources. Okay. Let's start by thinking first of all about what we want to do. So I talked about planning. Okay. Now planning is really important. You need to think about which areas of teaching you want to focus on. So in the British Council, we have this framework, this CPD framework for teachers. Sorry, excuse me. Now it's a circle and you can't read that, and that's fine. But we have identified 12 professional practices. So around the edge of the circle, or nearly complete circle, you can see 12 bits of writing which are impossible to read. So I've written them in blue here, and we call these professional practices. Now, they're all important. Some will be more relevant to you than others. So we all need to plan our lessons. We need to plan the course over the year, understanding our learners, what they need, how they learn best, what their background is, managing the lessons, setting up the activities, working with the students, giving instructions, knowing the subject, whether that's science or maths or English or Hindi, how well you know the subject you are teaching. Can you answer the questions the students are going to ask you? Can you develop good lesson plans which go into the detail of the subject? Managing resources. How do you use the blackboard, whiteboard, projector? How do you set up the benches or tables or chairs? Do you use the walls in any way? How do you use the books and paper and pens in the classroom? Do you have technology? Assessing learning. That's assessment for learning and assessment of learning. How do you check that your students understand what you are teaching, that they're able to apply that knowledge, that they gain those competencies in your subject? So assessing learning. Integrating ICT. So the technology, how much technology do you have in your school? How much technology do the students have? How this may be more or less relevant to some teachers, but you know, it's a core skill. Students need to be able to use computers in the 21st century. You need to be able to use them. Do you use Teams with your students? Do they have mobile phones? What kind of technology are they using and how can you use it? Those ones are all very practical and focused on the teaching in the classroom and what happens in the classroom. The next ones are also really important, but are perhaps less visible. It's harder to see these things sometimes. So taking responsibility for CPD. Some teachers say, my head teacher, my school, my district, they organise training for me on this day, and this day. I will do that. Okay, that's one approach. A better approach is to say, okay, my school is organising this training, but I want to do this and this. I'm going to do this and this. Okay. When you take responsibility for your own professional development, you get the power and you can feel pride in what you are learning, and you will become a much better teacher much more quickly than your colleagues. Using inclusive practices. So if you attended the session on Wednesday, you will have learnt more about this, but it's really important that we include everyone in the classroom, regardless of their background or abilities. So are you making sure there is a balance between boys and girls? Are you including children who have different disabilities? How do you include everyone? Using multilingual approaches. So this is another key skill. So in the classroom, the students might speak Kannada, but you might be teaching in English, maybe one or two have another home language. How do you combine the languages in the classroom to ensure learning happens effectively? 21st century skills. So these are skills like we talked about using technology, but also critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, communication. These key skills, we call them core skills or 21st century skills, and they're the kinds of skills which are soft skills but so important in the workplace and will be in very high demand when students enter into the job market. So the better able a student is to apply critical thinking, the more valuable they will be. And so it's important we understand what those skills are, and we can use those skills and teach those skills in the classroom. The last one is interesting, but perhaps less relevant for some people, understanding educational policies and practices. We were not going to focus on that one so much. That one may be more useful for aspiring leaders. Okay, so there are these 12 different practices that we talk about that are part of being a teacher. And you need to think about each one of these. And then on the circle, you can see arrows, okay, going from the yellow to the red in the center. And we all start at the beginning of our careers on the outside of the circle. And then with different skills, we get better and better, and we move towards the center. And when everything is in the center, we can think of ourselves as providing quality for our students in the classroom. So we think about 4 levels, 4 stages of development. On the outside, there is awareness. So we are aware of key principles when planning lessons, okay, for example. Then there is understanding. We understand the concepts. We've heard of them, we understand them, we can think about applying them. Then there's engagement. This is where we are able to use those concepts in the classroom and to adapt them to the situation. And then integration at the very center is the highest level. When we can integrate the skill effectively in our teaching, we are able to look at all the different scenarios, think about different situations. We can support other teachers with their development in the skill. So most of the time we're aiming for engagement for each of these skills. If we can be engaging all of these professional practices in our teaching, we'll be doing a fantastic job. Okay. Now check the comments, see if there's anything in. Okay, Rafik is saying number 4 is very important. Thinking about lessons and taking feedback. Okay, that was from the previous slide. But they are very true, it's very right. Okay. So now I'm going to take you on a little tour of different resources. I'm going to stop sharing that screen and I'm going to start sharing another screen. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So, has anyone seen this website before? It's called Teaching English and it's from the British Council and the BBC. I hope a lot of you have seen this website before. It's a really good website for teachers. It's for teachers of English, but lots of teachers will find it useful in different ways. So one thing, for example, is professional development. We can go to professional development and we can look at how we can improve ourselves as teachers. So here you can see the little circle I was talking about. You can watch the video and learn more about it. Here are the professional practices, and you can, for example, if you want to learn more about using inclusive practices, you can click on that, and then it gives you lots of articles and other content that you can use to read and discuss. So if you're interested in learning more about inclusive practices, for example, you can, for example, read an article about building resilience. Click on the article, read the article, and then maybe discuss it with one of your colleagues. Okay, so this is a really interesting article that's come out this year, where 3 of British Council colleagues were interviewed about building resilience in difficult situations. And then you can discuss whether that is relevant in your context, for example. So that's a really important website, which you will find very useful. I'm going to put some of these into the chat. You've got the links. You don't need to go to the link now, but you will find the link in the chat for your reference, and maybe you can save the link in the future. Like I say, it's aimed at English teachers, but it will be useful for most teachers because there are lots of different articles and ideas that can be used by everyone. Another site that will be useful, again, particularly for English teachers, is joining communities of practice. So communities of practice are where you connect with other people in your profession. You engage in different activities. Maybe you read something together and you discuss it. Maybe you draw up a lesson plan and you try it in your classes and then you discuss it together. So you can have a community of practice for English teachers, for science teachers, computer science teachers, maths teachers, Hindi teachers. It's where you come together and you discuss things. You can also join wider communities of practice. Okay, you can connect on Facebook or Twitter. So, for example, for English teachers, you could join Teaching English, which is the British Council's Facebook community for teachers of English, and you can if you go to the page, you can like it, you can subscribe to it, and then you can get regular updates. You can see different posts, you can comment on the posts. Sometimes they have live sessions, and you can see what everyone is talking about. Okay, so you can connect with teachers from all over the world. Here is a nice lesson plan that you could use. So there's lots of different things. So if you're a teacher of English, you can join this Facebook page, or anyone can join it, but it's probably most useful for teachers of English. But if you teach a different subject, which websites or which Facebook pages are there that you can join? So think about the communities that you can join online. We also have an English in India page, which is very useful. This is useful for everyone, whatever your subject, because the English in India page is focusing on students and teachers. So it talks about how it kind of has regular questions about English. You can use these with your students. You can do them yourself. So I recommend everyone likes the English in India page, because then you can get questions to test your knowledge of grammar. For example, here's one. Which is the correct one, A, B, or C? I saw a round, beautiful golden lamp, or I saw a golden, beautiful round lamp, or I saw a beautiful round golden lamp. So you can test your own knowledge and your own skills with questions like this, and then you will get responses. There are also videos that you can use as well, and you can watch. So this page, English in India, is useful for everyone who wants to improve their English, whether that's or improve their students' English. There are ideas that you can use to help your students as well. Now, this site is called FutureLearn. I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but it's a really good site because FutureLearn offers a lot of short online courses. Now, all the courses are free, or nearly all the courses are free. Okay. FutureLearn doesn't make the courses. People like the British Council make the courses, or UK universities, or other universities. So different organisations make courses we put them on FutureLearn, and then you can register for the course and study the course in your own time. So this is FutureLearn, and this is British Council, and on this page I can see all the courses from the British Council. Okay, so here's a course. Some of these courses are for students, some of the courses are for teachers. This one is for a teacher, becoming a better teacher, exploring professional development. So this is for any teacher, whatever your subject, and it's very relevant for our session today because it's about becoming a better teacher, about professional development, our topic today. You can see that it's a 4-week course and it's about 3 hours per week. Okay, so I could click on that and I could learn more about this course. I can ask them to let me know when I can join, and it gives me a little bit of information about the course, the topics I'm going to cover, and then I can, this one isn't starting yet, but it will let me know when the next one starts. Okay. Now on the British Council, all of our courses are free. But let me just go to a different one. So for example, some of the courses are focused on improving your skills as an English teacher, some improving your skills as a teacher, some are ideas for improving, some are courses for improving your English skills. Okay. So for example, look at this one. So this one is about the IELTS test. You can join this one now. So this is about listening skills. It's focused on the IELTS test, but anyone who wants to improve their listening skills might benefit from this course. You can see it's a 3-week course and you can join it immediately. There's no starting time. Okay. All of our courses are free. Okay. So you can click on join free and you can take part in the course. You can pay a fee and it will give you a certificate, but that is not necessary. The most important thing about professional development is not bits of paper, certificates saying that you did something, because you could attend a course and not learn anything. The most important thing are the skills and knowledge you get. So join the course, take part in the course, and then you will develop your skills. So there are lots of courses you can take here for improving your English or developing your skills as a teacher. Okay, so I'm going to give you this link. There are other people you might look at courses from, for example, King's College in London, lots of different places. The last 3 websites I'm going to show you are British Council websites. Again, these are for people teaching English. Okay, so but if you're teaching in an English medium, they will still be useful. This one is called Learn English Kids. This is for obviously for primary school students, which may not be so relevant for most of you at the moment. But you can go to, there are lots of songs, stories, chants you can use in the classroom. Then this site called Learn English Teens is also really relevant. This would be the most relevant for you because this is for teenagers, so we're looking at secondary school age students. You can find lots of resources on here. If you want to support your students in terms of grammar or vocabulary, you can look at these different sections. You can look at the 4 skills. There are lots of reading passages that you can use, and that you might find something useful for your subject. So lots of resources here. So this is Learn English Teens, which is really for secondary students. This site, just Learn English. Okay, if you get to 1, you can go to all of them, by the way, because Learn English Teens, Learn English Kids, teaching English. Learn English is for adults who want to improve their English. So maybe you as a teacher want to improve your English. So this is a great place to go. You can focus on the different skills. You can look at different bits of grammar, focus on vocabulary, or business English, general English. You can look at all these different things. There are lots of videos, podcasts, there are apps and games, different things you can look at. So think about, if you want to improve your English, this is a great place to start, and it's all free, okay, everything on here. So lots of different resources for you there. I'm going to copy this and put this in the chat as well, so that you can go to here if you would like to get that, okay? So these sites are from the British Council and they're really good for you. Obviously, you can also access various resources such as the BBC, radio, and so on for authentic material, and do that as well. Okay. I'm going to close that down, and then I'm going to share my presentation again. Okay. So we did a quick tour of the Teaching English website, Facebook communities of practice, FutureLearn courses, our 3 websites, Learn English Kids, Learn English Teens, and Learn English. They're a great place, and I would recommend going to those to start with. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I know there are lots of questions. Just quickly, I want to ask you one thing first, okay? I want to ask you 2 questions. Question number 1, how many webinars have you been to this week? We've given 5. How many did you come to? That's question 1. How many webinars from the British Council have you attended this week? Question number 2, tell me one thing you have learnt this week from any one of the sessions. Tell me one thing that is new to you, one thing you have learnt, one thing you want to try. Okay, I'm really interested to know what you have learnt this week. Maybe it's from today's session, maybe it was from Monday's or Wednesday's session. That's fine. So how many webinars have you come to this week, and what one thing have you learnt? If you've learnt more than one thing, fantastic, but you just need to tell me one thing. Okay, so write that in the comments now, and I'll come back to that in a minute. I think it's really important to say that getting started with CPD on your own, it can be challenging, okay? But the key thing is getting a plan. Any journey you make, whether it's a real journey in a car, on a train, or in a plane, you need a plan. And it's the same with your development journey. What is the plan, okay? So start with small things, something manageable. Don't take on a big task. Do small things, okay? Say, I'm going to join the community of practice on Facebook, and I'm going to look at one post every day. That is small, that is manageable. Take small action, do it regularly. That's the other thing, you know. Every day might be difficult, so maybe you can say every Monday and Friday, or every Saturday and Friday, whatever works for you. Or you can say half an hour on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I'm going to do this. Regularly, make sure it's part of your regular habit. Habits make things happen. Okay. Thinking is one of the most important things you can do in CPD. If you're thinking, then you are developing. You're thinking about what you're doing, how you can do it better. Okay. So always think about everything you learn. Think about it. How can I do that? Will that work? How should I change it? What do I need to change? Sometimes you need motivation, okay? Sometimes in the middle of a long course, like if you're doing a degree or a master's degree, or whatever it might be, sometimes it's like, oh, it's too much. I can't do it all. You need to think of a positive image. Remind yourself, I'm doing this because I want to be a better teacher. I want to be the best I can be. I want the best for my students. Think of that positive image. Maybe your image is, I want to become a head teacher, or I want to win a national teaching award. That's fine. what is your goal? Why are you doing this? And remember, the first steps are the hardest steps, but also the most important. Okay, so just keep going. If you miss one day, forgive yourself, do something the next day. Okay, just make sure you do a little bit all the time. I'm going to do one more. I will do this slide as well. Okay, so motivation is really important. Okay, so think about what you want to focus on. Maybe think, okay, I think my weakness is planning interesting lessons. Okay, that's fine. Identify what you want to work on. Look at the British Council website, talk to other teachers, get support from your head of subject. How can you make your lessons more interesting? Observe your colleagues. Okay, get ideas, watch videos, read articles. Think about that. Set realistic goals. Don't say I want to be the best teacher in the school by the end of the year. Say I want to be able to write very clear lesson outcomes by the end of January. Okay, so small goal which is realistic and you can do. You can improve how you write lesson outcomes, for example. Set aside a bit of time every day or every week to focus on you. Okay, forget school, forget the students, forget the teachers, forget your family. Just half an hour for you, or whatever time it might be. Okay, set aside that time. I like this idea a lot. It's really good. Keeping a learning diary. If you reflect, when you do something, make a little summary, just a bullet point or a paragraph, and that really helps you see the progress you're making. This one is a fantastic one. If you have a partner, then you are more likely to do something. If you make a commitment to your friend, you are more likely to keep the commitment than if you make a commitment to yourself. So if you say to yourself, I'm going to read the article, and then tomorrow comes, yeah, I'm going to read the article. Then the next day, yeah, I'm going to read the article. Maybe it never happens. But if you say to your friend, a teacher you work with, let's read the article and talk about it on Thursday. I think you will read the article, and on Thursday you can talk about it with your friend, and it's more motivating, it's easier. Okay, so here are some nice ideas to stay motivated and to can get on with professional development. So those are my ideas. I did ask you, how many sessions have you attended this week? How many webinars? And one thing you learned this week. I'm going to scroll through the comments now and see. Okay, so Rahida's fantastic. 4 sessions. And I learned about communication skills yesterday. Fantastic. Well done. Thank you very much. Someone is saying they've learned how to handle students and how to grab students' attention. Really good. That's a really practical thing that you've learned, and it's a really good skill to have. So I'm glad you've benefited. 3 webinars, planning well for teaching. Fantastic. Okay. Vina's attended all 5. Fantastic. Well done, Vina. Okay. Someone, Sangapa is saying that they've learned lots of things this week. Particularly competency in English. I hope my accent hasn't been too difficult and you've understood most of what I was saying. Well, I like this, very honest. Someone has said they've attended 1.5 webinars. Maybe half the webinar was a bit in the middle of dinner or something. And they've learned to involve students to speak through activities. Fantastic. I'm really pleased about that. Good rapport. That was from my session. Thank you, Vina. That was my session on Tuesday, having good rapport with students. Santoshi has attended all 5. Fantastic. Okay. And someone else has attended all 5. And you like today's session, particularly professional practices. It's fantastic. Okay. So I've got Shivan Nanda. I've attended 5 webinars and I've learned to update teaching process and professional development. It's essential if you want to mark your name in present world. All the sessions are worthy for me, especially CPD. Brilliant. Okay, that's really good. I'm glad we got so many nice responses, and I'm glad that so many of you have learned at least one thing from the week, and you're able to take that and apply that in your sessions. Anna, did we have any questions that we can look at?
Not specifically. There was some right at the beginning on how British Council could help with resources. I think you've covered that. Something. There was one question again. Sorry, I don't have the name. How to improve teaching quality and professional skills. I think you've covered that also today. So that was right at the beginning.
I do want to say one thing. I think I mentioned it, but I want to stress it more. When you're planning CPD and when you want to improve your skills, the most important thing is being honest. Okay, honest with yourself. Maybe you can't. It's difficult to be honest with your colleagues and say, "This is somewhere I'm not so good at." But be honest with yourself. What are your weaknesses? Where do you need to develop? If you can identify those areas, then you can plan about how you improve and develop. So be honest with yourself.
There was one question from Lavanya about what is repurposing. I don't know whether today or it's come from something from the week. So I was not very sure, but I made a note in terms of repurposing. I don't know the context she's asking that in. I don't know whether you use the word.
I don't think I've used that word today. Repurposing. I would think of repurposing in the context of materials. Maybe yes. You've got some materials, maybe someone's given them to you, maybe you found them on a website, and they've been recommended, but you need to repurpose them for your students in your class. Every class is different, every school is different, every group of students is different, every student is different. So how do you repurpose the materials for your class? And I think if you are repurposing materials, and maybe one way, a lot of people are repurposing face-to-face materials for online sessions. Anytime you're adapting materials, think about why are you doing this? Who are the students? What do they need? And if you think of those questions, that will help you make sure the materials are fitting that need.
I didn't see any more questions per se. Let's see if they are any more questions. We have last 2 minutes. If you have any questions, you can type now. There was a question about whether there are free grammar lessons from the on our portals, on our websites. So maybe you want to respond to that?
Yeah, if you go to the Learn English site, I wouldn't call them lessons, but there are lots of articles on different aspects of grammar. You can find the bits that you're not sure of and you can use those. If you want support teaching grammar in a class, then you can go to the Teaching English website and you'll find lots of lesson plans. The lesson plans are for online teaching and face-to-face teaching, and so you can take one of those and you can apply the lesson plan. Do think about your own context if you need to adapt or change anything. But yeah, we have lesson plans which include grammar on Teaching English, and on Learn English you can find lots of support for your own questions about grammar if you have any grammar questions. I can see someone's writing a question, how to make our handwriting neat. I haven't got any advice. My handwriting is terrible, but I think the main thing is take your time when you're writing. I find it very difficult. Okay. Should we leave it there then, Anu? I think we've come to time.
Asking for your name, Becky. So maybe you should tell them your name.
My name? I didn't see that. My name is Rebecca Rawnson.
And also, have you written a grammar book?
No, that's the next thing I could do. That's maybe a CPD goal of my own. Write a book one day.
Yeah. I guess we've come to the end of the session, so I think it's been a great session. So thank you, Becky, and thank you everybody for joining. Becky, do you want to close the session?
No, I just want to say thank you everyone for coming, not just to today's session, but every session this week. And I hope you've learned one or two things. Just make sure if you thought something was interesting, you take it away and you try it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work, think why it didn't work, but just try it. It might well work. So thank you.
Thank you.